PS5, new features and improvements for PS5 owners. Global clean energy technology, opportunities, risks, and strategies for the future. Coming down to the gadget of the week, the Zen's 4-in-1 charging station, the ultimate multi-device charger. And lastly, coming down to the review of the technology in the comic industry. That and more coming up. Remember the good old days of the early 2000s when digital cameras were all the rage? Well, it turns out that these once again forgotten gadgets are making a comeback and becoming a must-have for many young people. Thanks to their resurgence in popularity on social media platforms like TikTok, search traffic for these old cameras has skyrocketed on online marketplaces like eBay and Etsy. Scott Ewart, a 32-year-old TikToker, has become a viral sensation with over 5 million likes on his account. He attributes this popularity to the simplicity that comes with using these older cameras. Unlike today's smartphones that almost guarantee a good shot every time, older cameras require a bit more work to get the best results, making the process more rewarding. eBay UK reported a 13% increase in searches for vintage digital cameras and a 52% rise for the refurbished cameras in the last quarter of 2022. Meanwhile, Etsy, a platform for homemade and vintage items, has also seen a growing interest from shoppers in the last 6 months, with over 19,000 items linked to digital cameras currently listed online. Katie Glasgow, a 25-year-old living in Brooklyn, New York, is also jumping on the trend. She uses her parents' old cameras to create images and videos that have a unique, imperfect, and blurry look to them, reminiscent of memories from the past. For younger generations who have little to no recollection of these cameras, this trend opens up a world of nostalgia, providing a window into the cameras used by the older siblings, parents, and grandparents. Now, the revival of digital cameras from the early 2000s is not just a trend, but a trip down memory lane, with the ability to preserve the moments in a way that can never be replicated by today's modern smartphones. These retro cameras are quickly becoming a must-have for anyone looking to capture a piece of nostalgia in the digital age. And some good news for PS5 owners as new features and improvements underway. The PS5 just got an exciting update, and it's all about gaming and socializing. Beta testers in the US, Canada, Japan, and UK can now join Discord voice calls directly on their PS5 console. Well, no more switching between devices or interrupting your gaming session to answer a call. Just link your Discord account and transfer the call to your PS5 using the Discord mobile app. But that's not all. Sony is also adding variable refresh rate support for 1440 pixels, ensuring smoother and more immersive visual performance in the games. And they are not done yet. The PS5 dashboard is getting some much needed improvements to the social aspects, including the share screen feature and party chats. You'll now be able to see which friends are playing a game thanks for the new friends who play tile. Uploading the game captures just got easier too, as Sony is now allowing manual uploads on the PS app and making it easier to access PS4 save data on a PS5. And for those who like to switch things up, you'll soon be able to transfer PS5 data and games from one console to another using a local Wi-Fi or local area network connection. And away from that, we come to the global clean energy technologies. The energy world is at the dawn of the new industrial age, the age of clean energy and technology manufacturing that is creating major new markets and millions of jobs, but also raising new risks, promoting countries across the globe to devise industrial strategies to secure their place in the new global energy economy. According to a major new IEA report, Energy Technology Perspectives 2023, the latest installment is one of the IEA's flagship series, serves as the world's first global guideline for the clean technology industries for the future. It provides a comprehensive analysis of global manufacturing of clean energy technologies today, such as solar panels, wind turbines, EV batteries, electrocyclers for hydrogen and heat pumps and their supply chains around the world, as well as mapping out how they are likely to evolve as the clean energy transition advances in the years ahead. The analysis shows the global market for key mass-manufactured clean energy technologies, which will be worth around $650 billion a year by 2030, more than 3 times today's level. If countries worldwide fully implement their announced energy and climate pledges, the related clean energy manufacturing jobs would more than double from 6 million today to nearly 14 million by 2030. A further rapid industry and employment growth is expected in the following decades as transitions progress. At the same time, the current supply chains of clean energy technologies present risks in the form of high geographic concentrations of resource mining and processing, as well as technology manufacturing. For technologies like solar panels, wind, EV batteries, electrocyclers, and heat pumps, the 3 largest producing countries account for at least 70% of manufacturing capacity for each technology, with China dominant in all of them. Meanwhile, a great deal of the mining for critical minerals is concentrated in smaller number of countries. For example, the Democratic Republic of Congo produces over 70% of the world's cobalt, and 3 countries, Australia, Chile, and China, account for more than 90% of the global lithium production. The world is already seeing the risks of tight supply chains, which have pushed up to clean energy technology prices in recent years, making countries' clean energy transitions more difficult and costly. Increasing prices of cobalt, lithium, and nickel led to the first ever rise in EV battery prices, which jumped by nearly 10% globally in 2022. The cost of the wind turbines outside China has also been rising over the last years of declines, and similar trends can be seen in polar PV. The IEA highlighted almost 2 years ago that a new global energy economy was emerging rapidly. Today, it has become a central pillar of economic strategy, and every country needs to identify how it can benefit from the opportunities and navigate the challenges. We are talking about new clean energy technology markets worth hundreds of billions of dollars, as well as millions of new jobs, according to the IEA Executive Director Farid Bureau. The encouraging news is that the global project pipeline for clean energy technology manufacturing is large and growing. If everything announced as of today gets built, the investment flowing into manufacturing energy technologies would provide 2/3 of what is needed in a pathway to net zero emissions. The current momentum is also moving closer to meeting the international energy climate goals, and there is almost certainly more to come. At the same time, the world would benefit from more diversified clean technology supply chains. The report notes that major economies are acting to combine their climate, energy, security, and industry policies into broader strategies for their economies. The Inflation Reduction Act in the United States is a clear example for this, but there is also the Fit of the 55 package and the RE-EP Power EU plan in the European Union, Japan's Green Transformation Program, and the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme in India that encourages manufacturing of solar PV and batteries. And China is working to meet and even exceed the goals of its latest 5-year plan. Meanwhile, clean energy project developers and investors are watching closely for the policies that can give them a competitive edge. Relatively short lead times of around 1 to 3 years on average to bring manufacturing facilities online mean that the project pipeline can expand rapidly in an environment that is conducive to investment. Only 25% of the announced manufacturing projects globally for solar PV under construction or beginning construction imminently, according to the report. The number is around 35% for EV batteries and less than 10% for electrolyzers. Government policies and market developments can have a significant effect on the rest of these projects. Amid the regional ambitions for scaling up manufacturing, ATP 2023 underscores the important role of international trade in clean energy technology supply chains. It shows that nearly 60% of the solar PV modules produced worldwide are traded across borders. Trade is also important for EV batteries and wind turbine components, despite their bulkiness with China, the main net exporter today. The report also highlights the specific challenges related to critical minerals needed for many clean energy technologies, noting the long lead times for developing new mines and the need for strong environmental, social, and governance standards. Given the uneven geographical distribution for critical mineral resources, international collaboration and strategic partnerships will be crucial for ensuring security of supply. The new Zen's 4-in-1 modular charging station is the ultimate multi-device charger for Apple enthusiasts. It has a spot to charge your iPhone, iPad, iPods and Apple Watch all in one compact and stylish accessory. This charger is unique because of its modular design, which allows the Apple Watch charger to magnetically attach and detach on either side of the central station. If you can have other devices, no worries. Zen sells additional modular chargers also can customize your charging setup. Measuring just 6.4 inches by 6.4 inches by 5.7 inches and weighing only 26.8 ounces. The charging station won't take up much room on your desk. And the best part, the USB-C port of the iPad has a powerful 30 watts output, while the MagSafe charger for your iPhone supports the fast charging of 15 watts. The Apple Watch extension has 2.5 watts of power, and the QI charger is capable of 5 watt output. The charging station is made up of recycled black plastic with sparkle design, which gives it a unique look. And the best part, the use of recycled materials is great for the environment. Unfortunately, Zen's doesn't mention the recycling percentage, but every little bit helps. With its flexibility and convenience, the Zen's 4-in-1 modular charging station comes with 65 watts cable with adapter plugs for US, EU and UK power outlets. So say goodbye to cluttered desks and multiple chargers and hello to a sleek and organized charging station.
Smart 24, driving business.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
Uwa, obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange, anti your TV enkolera.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you are. Download the GOTV Channels app from your app store and enjoy 30 days of free streaming with MTN.
GOTV Channels.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Smart 24, driving business.
In many developed countries, people of all ages, in fact, vastly consume and appreciate comics. It is a narrative form of art told by combining images and text in frames and placing the frames sequentially in shorter stories, that is, comic strips or longer stories, comic books and graphic novels. Comics may be seen trivial to a lot of people, yet it can be a multi-layered in different expressions which requires a deep liberal sort of understanding. I may take the reader on a journey inwards and outwards at the same time, thereby broadening the horizon to already open-minded people. In Uganda, despite the low levels of adaptation, the comic industry is picking up at a surely promising rate, With this, we had an interaction with Brian Omura, who's been participating in this industry for a space of about 9 years. He is very passionate and willing to uphold the success of this industry in Uganda.
I've been drawing since I was a kid, right? And I think when I landed in a comic book, I think I was about maybe 8-7 years old, and I was blown away by the visuals. I was like, how can all this storytelling with the artwork and with the dialogue and all that stuff be put in in a single page? And from that point, I just said, as a kid, because comic books are really rare in the country. When you did have them, they were like I said, they were super rare. So whenever I'd watch a nice animation, or I'll try to put the sequences in my books and stuff. From that point, it was just one thing led to another, and I've just been drawing ever since. It was difficult. When I started and I told people what I wanted to do, they thought I was pretty much crazy, because there's pretty much a non-existent comic book culture in Uganda at the time when I started. But I pushed on, if you have a strong will and you have a dream, you're not going to let what people think about what you're doing stop you. So yeah, I started, I think at the beginning, I remember our first book was Guardian, one of Uganda's heroes. I printed so many copies without doing a market survey, nothing of the sort. And I put the books out there in different video libraries, video game arcades and stuff like that, hoping that, I sold a couple of copies, of course, but it was a humbling experience. It taught me from that point, you really have to start from scratch and reevaluate how you're going to approach this thing. And then one thing led to another. I think we started distributing the comic books on Facebook for free. Every week we drop a page for the second issue of Guardian, a page every week, and we'll start building an audience. And from that point, I think when we reached the third issue is when we stopped halfway, and we told you what, guys, I think you show some love, place some orders. We're going to distribute the whole book on this date and this date. And guys surprisingly put in the orders, and I learned from that. And from that point, we have used it as a business model. Let the clients facilitate the printing of the books. So whenever we have a new release, we tell them in advance, and they buy the books. And like I said, it has been growing from that point. So, all you need is, of course, an understanding of art, how to draw, and then you probably need a computer, a tablet. So if you're looking at the capital, you have a capital of about 4-5 million. You should be able to start. I think that is cheaper than cheaper than most startups. If you have about 5 million, you should be able to start with the equipment. You should be able to start anything with comic books. Yeah, it's very cheap.
How can a lay person understand comics?
It's basically a couple of images put together in a book, right? You have artwork. You're telling a story through a sequence of images in a book. That's the first thing that should come in their mind. Another thing they should think about is also it's a nice and cheap way of doing visual storytelling. If an organization or someone has a budget and they can afford animation, they can afford film, comic books are a way to go. Because most of even these popular movies, you guys keep going for Marvel movies, DC movies. Most of the pop culture right now, most of the movies you're seeing are from comic books. So it's a good foundation for the creative industry to start from. And there is also, once you have a certain skill, when you get a certain skill level, there is good money involved. So if you're doing, if a young person is doing art, it's a very good option to make money. Yeah, once they get their skill to a certain level, of course.
The lack of interest and appreciation of comics as a medium is the main barricade between comic artists and the readers. Correspondingly, the mentality that comic cartoons are kids' stuff. This has strangled even the smallest of the interest that some of the people may have in the art form, which has been responsible for the low levels of adaptation in Uganda, something which Brand believes can be solved through availing a variety of content.
We are still very far from that. The adaptations are one thing we should be, as creatives, should be investing is content right now. Let us build the content, as much good content as we can, and eventually the adaptations will come. These guys will come knocking on the doors. Like we have had recently studios like Disney and Netflix are just knocking the doors right now in East Africa, looking for content, good content. So we just right now we need to focus on positioning ourselves with enough content, good content, and those things will open those things will eventually come in. We'll have movies from like my book in Daura. Hopefully one day be turned into a movie. Maybe I'll do it myself. Maybe someone will get some facilitation from a big studio. Who knows? Let's wait and see.
With the evolution of technology, art pieces have evolved beyond the traditional ones. There are now gadgets like tablets and digital pens and software applications like Adobe Photoshop, and all these will help artists in creating digital art. These also help the artists make the process of creating an artwork a lot of less stressful. Before, artists always had to make sure that the painting stick stroke is the right one to avoid mistakes and to correctly portray what they wanted their paintings or sketch to show. But right now, artists can modify their work with a click of the mouse. It lessens the hassle for the artists without damaging their creativity.
Comic books, they are different. We have transitioned. The guys were still working traditionally with pen and paper, but then we have technologies. We have using computers to do most of our work. We have tablets to help facilitate the drawing tablets. We have software like Manga Studio, Photoshop. All these are tools we're using now to create the beautiful effects, the beautiful visuals you see in the comic books. Yeah, and there are so many other softwares that are coming up. All these tech companies are now realize, even now you can produce an entire comic book on your iPad and send it for production. Things are becoming easier for the artists. You don't have to carry a bag full of papers and stuff like that. So yeah, these visual effects you see in comic books are all facilitated by the software we're using right now, the Photoshops and the tablets. Everything is just making our life way easier.
Technology advancement has greatly eased our process of production. Yes, unlike in the traditional way of producing the comic books, the biggest challenge in the traditional way was adjustments. Adjustments are inevitable in any art form, whether be it fine art, or industrial art. So our art form falls in the category of industrial art, something that is going to be, mass produced. So it was amazing that traditionally you had to do everything final on paper. So any adjustments that would be needed would face a lot of challenges doing that. So everything had to be really well planned, so that by the time you're drawing, adjustment requires redrawing. So that will take a lot of it will take more time. It will be more time consuming. But right now, with the technology advancement of using it doesn't take yes, we still use pencil and paper for basically planning out and things like that. We have some artists who commonly prefer planning out these things using pencil and paper, but with the technological advancement, the best problem that has been solved, the biggest problem that has been solved was easy adjustment. If this color isn't working, you easily change it to another color. Adjustments like texts that are going to be in the book, that has been, let's say, problem that has been greatly been solved, and that easily assists in increased pace in production. So yes, that is the biggest problem that the technological advancement has solved for us.
The comic business is definitely not walk in the park. This is one of the reasons why there are few artists in Uganda engaged in this field, which has resulted to an average market penetration rate. But the future is bright.
Industry is still growing, right? you find there's a big appreciation for comic book culture. And even our neighbors in Kenya, it's crazy. Like when I went to Kenya, they've taken their pop culture to a whole other level. So in Uganda, it's still growing. What we focused on right now is creating sensitization and also creating more awareness of the product. And then one thing we also invested in is building an audience. So you build an audience, and people actually see that, oh my God, this is really done here. This is beautiful work. They actually make the purchases. So we want to create that awareness. I think things will move in the right direction. Things are actually moving in the right direction. Like I've been doing this for 9 years, and I've seen this thing grow. This baby, it's like a baby. It's been growing every single year. More improvements, more awareness is happening. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction.
The business is still very, very, very at the infant stage, but the great potential in the business is very interesting. In experience as a company, Elupe House of Comics and Animation, of which I'm the CEO of the team, with our experience in the business for the last 7 years, we all know the Ugandan market, first of all, is still green about the art form, first of all. So we are required to sensitize and market the art form first, because with the resources we have tried the art form to be sold in various events. You can see that the business can exponentially grow with much more investment in marketing, because people would first of all get shocked that comic books are produced in the country. So that enthusiastic reaction from the public gives us a sign that there's a ready market for the consumption of the art form. Only if the art form is marketed for just a few, 2 or 3. That is hard copy. We have noticed in our market, hard copy, like the art form it's comic books. So these are books. Since it's the youngest market in the world, come on, Uganda is the youngest nation. Our product definitely mostly appeals to the youth. So the potential is big for this art form. Just need good marketing.
Brian further outlines the challenges faced by the industry, accompanied with the possible solutions and initiative he has undertaken through formulation of partnerships.
Still few people doing this. Yeah, still few people who know how to use the software. Manpower is a problem. Then also the reading culture in this country is a bit lagging, but it will get, I think with time it will get there. Those are the two major challenges. And then I think also the appreciation level of the creative space in Uganda is also still not what it should be, but like with every year it keeps growing. So I think you should take that as a benefit of what we're trying to do as creatives. I think eventually we shall get to that level where we can compete with the rest of the world. We are parts. I think a couple of studios got together and created Tribe Uganda. It's almost like a union of all these creatives, and we decided, you know what, why don't we have a huge festival to celebrate animation and comic book culture in Uganda. And every year before COVID, right, before the lockdown, we had a convention at the end of the year, and the turnout was crazy. And you find parents, oh my God, we didn't know this was there. You have kids coming, like, can I take this as a career path? The new kids you have selling comic books, talking about your studio, we're creating awareness. And you find every year whenever it was held, there are new people coming in and getting a love for the industry. They thought their kids would probably have to go abroad to do something like this, but now they can do it here. And then we have institutions like Artfield Institute of Design. I lecture there twice a week. They're really pushing the animation sector to another level, right? We have producing kids are going there and learning how to do draw comic books and do animation. So everything, like I said, with every year we have improvements, and I think the future is really bright, especially in this country, for the creative space.
Brand believes the government has a role to play to ensure the growth and development of the comics industry. Once developed, the sector carries enormous potential to accelerate economic revival and growth through provision of employment opportunities, reducing the income inequality gap.
Government should take another look at the creative industry as a whole, because we can't just have organizations from abroad support facilitating. They see the potential, so why doesn't the government also see the potential? They should be willing to spend the money, and it's also a good way to create jobs. It's a cheap way to start. Like I said, we capital about 5 million. Someone can start working if he has the skills as an artist and starts making good money. You can make just to illustrate a page takes about, if you have a very good client, about 1.5 million shillings just to do one page. That's someone's salary for, and if you imagine a student, if you get clients, about 5 clients in a year producing comic books, you'll be living a very good life. So the government should really take a look at re-strategize and look at a number of sectors, skill-based, talent-based options for the economy, because there's money in it. If someone really pushes through and creates they'll make the money. They'll make a lot of money from it.
Comics are built based on the concept of superheroes who have largely starred in various movies. For example, the Marvel Studios has created a number of renowned heroes such as the Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and many more, together with DC Comics Studio responsible for the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the Green Lantern, and many others. What about Africa in particular? Uganda. Brand believes that there is need to embrace local superheroes, defining the African origins. But however, we can't deny the fact that the foreign industry has had an impact on the local comic concepts.
For the longest time, one of the reasons I'm doing Indahura is because, as a comic book, because we didn't have a lot of African superheroes, and it dawned on me as like, why don't we can't keep looking at Spider-Man and Superman as let our kids look at someone who looks like them, who looks African, and see, we can actually tell a very cool story. So I think a lot of creatives, which we're doing right now, if you look at the number of studios that are working in this space, they're all Africanizing their superheroes. All the heroes we're not producing anything from that side, unless of course as a client, but as individual studios are producing our own content. They're all African, because we want our people to appreciate the stories. We have very nice stories being told here, so why not give the people and this, experience it for themselves. They'll be surprised at what they see. Got into this space because of foreign influence. There would be no comic Ugandan African comic space without those guys opening our eyes, and they continue to influence. They're trying to influence the culture here. Like I said, we have these guys knocking on our doorstep. We look at their movies, we look at their comic books, and it kind of sets the standard, right? So if we can match that, then I think we will have equal footing with these guys. So yeah, there's no creative space without those guys. They're the ones they taught us everything we know, but now it's up to us to make it our own.
The ability to create computer graphics and effects has changed the advertising, art, design, and multimedia industry. Digitally created and enhanced images have altered the art gallery. Even on the newsstand, we see evidence of how computers have affected the pictures we see, the words we read. Computers have changed the art as well, modifying the course of animation earlier on and more recently affecting the creation of another visual art form, the comic book series. And now let's delve into demonstrations on the technology behind designing these comics, and of course exploring the effects involved using the softwares as Brand takes us through.
I use Photoshop for my illustration, digital illustration. It's what we call it using computers. We call it digital illustration. we have transitioned from there are guys who are still using traditional media. I also still use it myself, depending on my mood. Sometimes these things can get a bit stale when you overuse them and you want to try different mediums. So this is Photoshop. What I'm showing you right now is I'm opening a file for one of the new pages I'm working on for the graphic novel in Dahura. Initially we were producing it as a single issue, 20 pages per issue, but this one here is good. The next part of the story is going to be 60 pages long as a graphic novel. So this is the artwork. This is what this stage is called. We call this inking. It's been inked. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Okay, that's what I want. So I use. Let me show you the sketch where it starts from the basic. Basically, turn these off, and you have a look at how it starts. As you can see, when I turn off the layers, the stuff has started to disappear. Right? This is mostly finished, but as you can see, right, this is how it starts as a sketch. It's very loose drawing. And then I start building it up with a layer, layer by layer, right? This is now the layer for the environment. It's a different different layer. This is the structure. Then you can see I start adding the characters, right? You can see the characters being added. So that's the beauty about digital illustration. Initially, when you're drawing traditionally, you have to do everything on a piece. It's very hard to do something like this. But when you're drawing digitally, it's easy to make adjustments. Now, for example, here, if I'm not happy with the positioning of the characters, right? I can just shift them around. You see that, right? It makes your life very easy. You can't do that traditionally. You'd have to rub the entire drawing, even if you've gotten a perfect drawing, and then you start the whole thing. But that's the advantage of drawing using digital media. Like I've shown you, this is the beauty of digital. When you first kill this, I don't want you to see this background here. Let's first remove this. It's a sketch, so it's disturbing. But now you can see, right? Here, after getting all this. Sorry, that hand has to move a bit because of you have to use the keyboard for some of the commands. So let's see. Now, if I wanted to, let's see what's missing here. Oh yeah, the sky. You see, I've added just like that. You've added your sky, right? There's rain and stuff. So that's the beauty of digital illustration. Now, if I wanted to color, I can also do it here. So, but it's a long and tedious process. But let me quickly show you how we, let me see, create a new layer here. So I'll create a new layer. Let's put it over here and see. Drag it. I'll call it. I have a little OCD, so I'll call it colors, so I don't get lost in that. Because there are so many layers we use to build these environments. So I'll zoom in. I'm just zooming in to get, and now this in mode where I fill it, and then I start just selecting areas I want to color. So this is my color palette. I can just pick, right? You see what's happening? Very easy. Just selecting areas I want to color, and boom. You see how it makes your life way easier, right? If you're using a pencil to do this, it will take you, or a marker, you know just how many strokes you're going to take to do all this coloring. It's just, I tell some of my students that this is the most boring part of comic book illustration. We actually pay guys to do this part of the process. There are guys who specialize. We call it flatting, where they help you put the best color for the entire page. They're actually making money from this. They pay some money. So if someone can do about 5 pages in a day, he's going to make about 100,000. 100,000 shillings in a day. And you find he's working, he does a project within just doing the flatting, this part of the process, he's doing it in maybe 2 weeks he has done his part and he's made his money, right? So how much money, if you calculate how much money is that, it's 20 pages times 100, that's it's 5 pages 100,000, that's so he makes 500,000 in what, in about 4 days, right? He's done with his video, and if he gets really good at it, work keeps coming in. So if you're specializing in comic book illustration, there are so many ways you can make money from it. You have the guys who do the flatting, they call this the base color, then the guys who do the actual finishing. Let me quickly show you what the finished page looks like. So this is you can't keep doing this, it gets a little boring, but you see already what's happening to the image. It's already breathing life into it, right? Yeah, and this is not yet finished. This is just so a finished page would pretty much look like. I'm going to save this, but quickly, this is client work, but this is almost done, right? It's not yet finished, but it's almost. It's still. This is when you have all the base color done, right? And you now at this point, I can start. Issue 3 and show you a finished page. Colors. Let me show you a finished page real quick. So once you've finished, this is what a finished page would look like. Once you've done this is like, for example, this was the best color for this is not finished, right? You can see once someone gets paid to do this, just put the best color. Then the colorist, someone does the final colors, comes in and does something like this, right? You put in all these effects, the rain, the lighting, and all that, as you can see, right? You have your African superhero with a dramatic, dramatic entrance and all that, right? So it looks very what? You tell me someone is reading this, they're not going to have fun looking at the visuals and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's all this stuff is done here. We this work here, and there's no stopping us, honestly. The Ugandan comic book industry is just going to get bigger and bigger every what. You can see. Let me show you. Can show you another one. I think this should see his face. These files can be they can be pretty heavy. So yeah, when you're sending client work, you have to have a lot of data. Yeah, they get really heavy. So you need to invest. You need investment in a more powerful computer would be something. So if someone's looking for African characters, here they are. This is an African-based story with African characters, right? Everything is African, but this is what the finished page would look like. It's pretty much done. See all the lighting effects and all that. All this is done in Photoshop. I do this in Photoshop, so yeah, you can see for yourselves. Yeah, like I said, the files can be very heavy files, and yeah. So all this is done in Photoshop. We can see everything has a layer. If you see, I removed the rain. That's rain, right? Now imagine painting all this traditionally. It will take you forever to do something like this, right? Effects. We're talking about effects in comics. These are the effects. We use different layers to create these beautiful backgrounds and rain. So these are those are raindrops. I don't know if they were here. Let's zoom in and have a look. I think you see that. That's black. I don't know if you can see, if you can catch that, right? Everything is built layer by layer, right? Everything is built with layers, and that's the beauty about digital illustration. Okay, so you can see it. See everything, so creating a mood. So we build everything step by step with the lighting, from the inking, from this phase. There is another piece. So from that point, so this is more like a sketch, right? This is all sketchy. But you can see I'm creating before this refined. You can see creating a mood. This is now, you see, all this is still sketchy work. So from this point, to get from this point to that, it takes time, but it's a very efficient way of illustration. You don't have to go back and forth, repeat, erase, and you can move things around because you're doing it digitally. So yeah, that is pretty much what would get involved. Of course, I'm condensing all this information in the shortest time possible, but yeah, all this is done digitally. Now for like the traditional medium, I don't know if I can show you right now. I can show you the traditional. If there's still there's still a lag. There's something the technology hasn't yet captured totally. Is with that authenticity you get when you're drawing on a piece of paper. It's still lacking a bit. When you're drawing on a tablet, it still feels a bit too technical. That freedom you have when you're drawing on a piece of paper. So there are those artists who still draw traditionally, comic book artists. They're paid as much money. And then there are those who have found a way of creating some kind of hybrid workspace for the works. Like for example, issue 1 and 2 of Ndahura, I used the traditional medium first. I did this traditionally. I don't know if you did this traditionally, and of course, when I made mistakes, I'd make small notes which I could fix digitally because I know how to be able to fix that. So I did this traditionally first, then I finish it up in the colors in Photoshop. So I found some kind of hybrid workspace for find a way to blend the traditional and traditional meets the future, and I came up with this. There's so many artists who are still doing it. So the good thing is the technology is not going to, it's only going to get better, but it shouldn't also, you can't say you can get into this workspace if you don't know how to use these tools. You can still do these tools, do the work traditionally and get paid for it. So it's a win-win both areas. So yeah, I think that's it. So there's so much money to be made in this stuff. There is nothing that's limiting you. Whether you do not use the technology or you do it traditionally, you are able to make a living from drawing comic books. You can use your phone, take a picture, or you can use a scanner. You scan the image, then you transfer it to transfer the image or the photograph to the Photoshop, and then you start working. Things are made easy. The phones these days are getting really, really good. If someone doesn't have a scanner, they just take pictures with them. Make sure just the image is perfectly, still, and then take a picture and just transfer it and start working. Because you see, there's no difference. If you look at the work, right, it's only thing we have added here is pretty much color. The only thing we have added is the color, right? So if I was to do, right, you can pretty much see maybe a few quick corrections here and there. But yeah, that's just nitpicking, right? It's just adding color and effects, but it's pretty much done. So if you get this right, the additional part of the process. The coloring also, it makes your work easier. You don't have to do a lot of editing in Photoshop if you're very good at what you're doing. So yeah, there is like I said, it's a very interesting way to make money as an artist, right? There's so many, and it's not the only way you can make money through digital illustration. There are other ways you can do it. Now, for example, a lot of movies, for example, Star Wars and a number of these sci-fi movies, even these more genres, right? They have artists who do this work. For example, you find a background in Star Wars, you think they're actually in the scene, but it's a green screen. Someone just painted an illustration and put it as a backdrop, and they're making money. They're just doing environment design through digital illustration. So there's so many ways you can make money through, as an artist, doing illustration, especially in this sector, storytelling. There's so many avenues. Concept art, for example, designing characters. You make money from just designing these characters in movies. It always starts with the artist. They design these characters, and so there are so many avenues to make money as a creative, especially in this space. There are no limitations, honestly. Shouldn't be restricted to just painting. So because I think most people think when you're doing art, it's just, I'm going to do art, I'm going to art school, I'm just going to make paintings and portraits for a living and make money. That's not true. There's so much you can do with it as an artist, and you just need to be able to tap into these. You just have to be aware and know it. NFTs, for example, even NFTs, non-fungible. I don't know if you've heard about NFTs. The guys are making money for killings from this, from making during NFTs. So there's so many avenues of making money as an artist, not just through comic art. And I would recommend anyone's kid to get into it. Parents still don't understand it. Those who do are reaping the benefits of what their children can get in this space. I was lucky enough that my parents were very accommodating of my dream, and they helped along the way. And the man I am today, I'm married. I have 2 kids, one on the way, and another on the way. So I'm pretty much a happy guy. I can't complain, right? I made a name for myself just doing this, and now I'm branching as well into animation, and I want to get to a position where I can train other people and grow the dream and grow the industry through the creative space, because we have so much potential here. Like there's so many avenues artists can make money, especially in the creative, in the film, animation, and comic book industry, because at the end of the day, most of this, once you have the script, the next thing is the job of the artist comes next, creating the concepts, what these characters look like, the design of the environments, and these environments actually some of them are painted into these movies. You actually look at the movie and you're like, oh my god, this guy is going to Mount Everest, but the entire backdrop was painted by an artist. It's just that they add a little effects, special effects here and there, some snow and what, but the entire thing was just painted. And you think it was even in space, right? Space is you see a spaceship and all these things, pretty much some of them are painted, and to the average moviegoer they won't be able to spot it, but now someone who's trained will be like, I know the artist who did this and stuff like that. So it's it's boundless what you can do with this with the technology right now.